all of our anniversaries and birthdays. So Mr. and Mrs. Body, B-O-D-Y, named one of their children Any. They named another one No. These siblings had a strange, interesting relationship. Whenever anybody did something wrong, nobody took the blame. A good message for the whole book of Deuteronomy about accepting blame. Our parsha begins with the words, V'haya ekev tishm'un. If you want to follow, I'm just looking in the Chumash on page 1037 and then quickly flipping over to 1052. And that word ekev is a strange word. The other two words, we know what they mean. V'haya tishma'un, you know, from the word shema, if you listen. When you listen, good things will happen to you. The words that Chuck read for us today, which come from the Siddur, from the Shema, which we already heard chanted during Shacharit, we read them during Shacharit, sometimes we sing them aloud. V'haya im shamoa tishma'un. Again, when you listen, good things will happen. Our challenge is sometimes we listen and good things don't happen. But I want to just spend a minute, maybe 2 minutes, on that word akev before we move on. It's a strange word. Akev is a word that means the heel, a cave. It's the heel of your foot. Now what's that doing here? V'haya ekev tishma'un. So something like on the heels of your listening. It's translated here, if you obey these rules. Some people translate this as consequential to your hearing. So that word just kind of stands out. It's the name of our parsha. What you do, we are told, has consequences. If you follow on the heels, we use that expression, of the right person, if you walk behind the heels of the right person, you're going to go in a good direction, and of course, the opposite is true as well. You know, one of the great lessons of Yogi Berra. Yogi Berra said, when you come to a fork in the road, take it. Come to a fork in the road, take it. I heard, I don't know if this is true, I read this in a book that was called, Why Does the Bread Always Fall Buttered Side Down? And someone claims there's actually scientific evidence why the bread falls buttered side down. In the course of that book, it was mentioned, it's also things like, if you are in the line or on the line, I know we always argue about that, at a grocery store, or at a toll booth, any line, and the other line is moving faster, and you switch into the other line, that line will now move slower, and your original line now moves faster. It always happens. So I heard this one, and I can believe this. I absolutely can believe this. If you come to a fork in the road, and you're not sure if you're supposed to turn left or turn right, so you turn right. And then you go for a little while, and you realize you went the wrong way. So you turn around, you come back, and you go left. The next time you come to that fork in the road, you go right again. It just happens. That's the way our brain works. If you're used to doing something the wrong way, you tend to do it over and over again. So we try to get used to doing things the right way. V'haya ekev tishma'un. Follow the right heels. We also must think about, when we hear Ekev, we think about Jacob, whose name comes from that same word, Yaakov. That means to follow. When Jacob was born, we're told he was holding on to the heel of his brother Esau. So that's the excuse we give. Some people will say Jacob himself was a bit of a heel. Not the nicest person. But he grew up to be a better person. And the profound change in his life was when, rather than hiding from his brother Esau, after this strange night when he literally, or perhaps in a dream, wrestled with an angel or somebody, he changed and he went to the front of the line and faced his brother head on. He became a better person. So maybe that's a lesson we learned. Think about Jacob. You might not be perfect now, but you can get better. The more commonly known words, I said, that we say in the Shema, which is from our parsha, V'haya im Shemo, when you listen, these are words which some people aren't so familiar with them because we don't sing them as much. We sing V'ahavta, and sometimes today we sing Vayomer Adonai Moshe Lemor, and V'haya im Shemo. Some people say, well, I don't want to sing it because I don't know it as well. We don't know it as well because we don't sing it as much. So some of us are singing it. But there's a reason why not everybody likes these words, because they are theologically and in some ways existentially challenging to us, because these are words in the middle of the Shema that say, if you listen, you will be rewarded, and if you don't, you'll be punished. That's a big theme in the book of Deuteronomy, and it just doesn't work so well for us. Number one, we don't like to talk about being punished. Number two, we know that a lot of good people get punished. A lot of good people suffer. Rabbi Harold Kushner made a lot of money with a book titled When Bad Things Happen to Good People. It's not an uncommon phenomenon. The Reform movement, very committed to being theologically honest, cut out these words. They're not in the Reform Siddur. I'm not bashing the Reform movement. I'm saying they were intellectually, theologically honest. We don't believe in this philosophy, of this theology, so we're not going to say when you are good, you'll be rewarded. In the conservative movement, we say, let's not get rid of traditional things that challenge us. Let's deal with it. Let's talk about it. Let's try to figure out how we can learn from these challenging words. If we listen, we'll be rewarded. Well, our rabbis have been struggling with these words really for generations. Now, if we dispense with the idea of reward and punishment, we don't talk about it, then we're left, which I consider a more dangerous place. We're left with saying, do whatever you want. Nothing matters. And I'm not comfortable saying that either. There has to be consequences for our actions. It doesn't mean that good people that we say should suffer and then we don't talk about that, or that somehow things just happen. So among the ways to cope with these words, how can the Torah say there is reward and punishment based on our deeds? So some ideas, rabbis say, well, in this world it doesn't appear to be so. I know wonderful people, they're suffering, but in the world to come, the truly good people will be rewarded. And that gives some people comfort. I'm going to be a good person because I know there's a world to come. In this world, maybe not so great, but the world to come, it'll be better. Some people, the rabbis suggest, don't understand what punishment really is. Maybe what we think is punishment isn't punishment. And therefore, maybe we just don't get it. So we'll say it and we don't get it. In the book of Job, Job's friends said to Job said, I didn't do anything wrong. And look at me. I lost my family, I lost my health, I lost everything I own. And at one point the friends say, well, maybe you're not so good. That's pretty harsh. But one of the things we can say, whether we understand reward and punishment altogether, is that we can say, like I said already, what we do should make a difference. We should be conscious of our deeds, and we want our deeds to be noticed. I'm back to Rabbi Kushner. Rabbi Kushner believes that that's in fact the most important thing that human beings want. It's not to be rewarded, or we'd like to be, it's to be noticed. People want to be that other people are aware of who they are, that they have an important place in the world. He also believes that we need to be judged. We won't always like that judgment. But imagine, you go to school and you work hard, you try your best, and the teacher says that there's no grade. You'll get an A, you'll be happy. You get a C, you'll work a little harder the next time. But you want to have some feedback for what you are doing. And so we want to have our deeds, even our bad deeds, we want them counted. And of course, we want to be proud of our good deeds. We could say that Judaism, in some ways, can be summarized in 5 words, of course, little generalization. You are what you do. Some people say you are what you eat. We say we are what you do. We are what our deeds are. And it's important to admit, if only to ourselves, when we have done something wrong, but sometimes to others as well. We hear horror stories. Read a story of a 10-year-old girl who was killed by a drunk driver who had a long record of driving drunk. And at the trial, the driver pleaded that he was a good man from a good family, but a series of traumatic events in his life had driven him to drink. And therefore, he's not responsible for what he's done. That's not what we believe. It's a sad story, but let's not take responsibility away. Let's learn to accept responsibility. We'll be compassionate, but we need to face up to responsibility. There's other cases like that. Jeffrey Dahmer, if you remember, who just committed hideous crimes. It said in court apparently that he was sexually abused as an 8-year-old, and while it's sad, it's awful, he did terrible things. In my 6th book of the Torah, Sports Illustrated, I have read college athletes. College athletes, they got like everything going for them, and there's some athletes who were caught stealing. There was a story up at Michigan State. There were some really promising athletes. This is back when my kids were in college. A local guy and he was stealing computer. Why? You don't have to do this. And so an athlete said, "Well, we're bored." We got to be able to be more honest with ourselves. Someone saw a bumper sticker, and I'm going to just paraphrase it a little bit, change the bumper sticker basically said, if you see somebody smiling, this is going to give us a little hint as to how awful the discussion of pessimism and optimism can be. If you see somebody smiling, they just thought of someone else to blame. When we look in the mirror, it's not to punish ourselves. When we look in the mirror, it's to be honest with ourselves. And if we've done some things wrong, and we all do every day, it's an opportunity. It's not a sentence. It's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to recognize, number one, we also have good qualities, and see those too, and see the things that challenge us to turn the corner and to become a better person. Our goal is not to be perfect. Our goal is to be self-reflective, to be honest to ourselves and helpful to ourselves, to be honest to others and helpful to them. Shabbat Shalom.